Welcome to Sunday Night Live.
I'm Harold Herring, and that's my fine wife, Beth, who did a great job last Sunday night.
Well, thank you.
You did.
And you had a nice birthday in the interim.
I did.
Yes.
Happy birthday to me. Happy birthday to me. I love my birthday. I celebrated a week before and a week after.
So we're still celebrating.
Celebrating right on till next Friday.
That's it.
And all of you that sent emails
Yes.
and cards and letters,
You are
thank you
so
very
kind.
much. I think 480
Wow.
Facebook birthday greetings, I think.
I'm impressed.
And I liked all of them.
And blessed.
If I did, I did. Just teasing, I won't tease. Anyhow, tonight's 7
Keys.
to success in 2019. 7 keys to success in 2019. Webster's Dictionary defines success as outcome result. A successful outcome is something that follows as a result or a consequence. So, according to Webster's Dictionary, if you think about you work in the world, you work in the marketplace, the workplace. Marketplace is defined as an open square or place in town where markets or public sales are held, or the everyday world.
Or the everyday world.
And that's really where we are today.
That's it.
You know, the marketplace, workplace of life, the things we discussed that can apply on your job, your business, or really the everyday world. The everyday world. Some years ago, I wrote this little thing right here. I'm going to share it with you. If you want to be a lawyer, you study law. If you want to be a doctor or nurse, you study medical procedures. If you want to be a teacher, you study education. If you want to be a hairstylist, you study cosmetology. If you want to be successful, you study the keys of success.
That's right.
And the greatest success book ever
written.
The Bible. See, God doesn't have a problem with wealth, but people tend to, especially some Christians. And it's important to understand, too, that the only limitation to our success is 6 inches. Yeah, those of you at home, those of you here, take your fingers and do like this. This is the greatest limitation to our success. Right here. Right here. Right here. We place limitations on ourselves and limits based on our past experience. 3 years ago, 4 years ago, I wrote a book called Borders Without Limitations.
That's right. Good book.
It's a great book.
I edited it.
You did edit it.
I edit all your books.
I know,
but
you did a good job.
Anyway.
Including the ones I'm working on now.
That's it. In Proverbs 4:23, this in the New Living Translation, it says, "Guard your heart above all else, for it determines the course of your life." Experiences and influences of others can create impressions that get stuck in our thinking process. For example, you're growing up and your mom goes, well, we've farmed this land for generations and always worked for, Mr. Johnson down the street. We've always done that, and I guess we always will. Sometimes that'll just lodge in a kid's mind as, well, this is what I'll be doing for all the rest of my life. And, that's just not exactly what God had in mind. But things get stuck depending on what we have experienced or what we hear or what we've been taught or what we've been told. And in Proverbs 23, this time in the in the King James Version, it says 4:23, it says, "Keep your heart with all diligence, for out of it are the issues of life."
The word issues is a real estate term, and it means the borders, the parameters.
That's right.
I was blessed yesterday. My friend Clay, Felicia were here, and he told me he'd read that book 10 times.
Wow.
So that blessed me. It did. See, honey, our heart sets the borders of our lives.
That's right.
Now, outside circumstances can influence the borders, but it's what's in our heart that sets the borders.
That's right.
That's why Proverbs says to guard your heart with all diligence. Our borders are set by experiences where the real are spoken. What's in our heart determines what we've seen, heard, and experienced as a child, as you were saying a while ago.
Yeah, beginning as a child. It is not just what, you hear, it's not just when you hear something new and it starts to break down maybe some of those borders, but it's about what we choose to believe or start looking into that will begin to change us from the inside out on things that we thought that might be permanent. Seriously, sometimes we can be told things and we take that as the truth. It's just in passing almost. And we don't realize until later that wasn't necessarily true. And I remember we can remember the first time that, actually, I can remember the first time that I'd heard this preaching on prosperity, and I went, Harold, you need to come in and hear this. It was about prosperity, and God wanted to bless people. And that was news to us because we never...
It was revelatory.
Yeah, heard that kind of scripture being used before. Go ahead.
When you're broke,
Yeah.
that's the kind of preaching I like to hear.
Yay.
I remember I called another preacher once. I said, I want to buy his tapes on... I want to buy his tapes.
On the teeth,
Oh,
yeah.
look again. Prosperity. She says, well, he has some other teachings. Do you want those? I said, what are they on? She said, healing and deliverance. I said, no, right now I'm into prosperity.
That's it.
Because it was that revelatory to me. And I was just getting to where I could fully understand and comprehend what the Bible was saying. And I didn't want anything else. The denomination that I grew up in, wonderful people, our church, but it was in line with a theology that said some people are poor, some people are rich, and that's the way they're going to spend their lives.
That's it. Nothing you can do about it.
And there's nothing you can do about it. You're right. There are many Christians who mean well, preach sincerely what they believe. The question that you have to ask as a listener is what they're preaching line up with the Word of God.
That is the truth.
That's the bottom line. Is it in the Word? Does it line up?
You better check.
Yeah.
Because really and truly, you'd better check.
So if you want to be successful, then you're going to have to expand the borders of your mind past your current limitations.
That's it.
And see, this is true to be a success whether in any and everything you do. See, that whole thing about out of the issues of life come the
what? Out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. No.
Anyhow, when guard your heart with all diligence, because
Yeah.
out of it comes the issues of life.
It
the borders,
influences
parameters.
everything.
And what that means is the heart is really taking the blinders off so that you can see like you've never seen before.
Yeah.
If you've lived in a situation where you were taught certain things, then it restricts your vision. And you don't look beyond
I think
that.
years ago when we were reading a Zig Ziglar book, I think he was talking about how they used to train the fleas.
Yeah, flea training.
There's a lot of stuff on that. They put them in a little jar and they kept hitting the top,
They jump and hit the top of the lead.
trying to get out. And so after a while, they realized their limitation. You could take the lid off and they would never jump out because the limitation was where they stopped, just where they stopped. Even though they could get out now, that would be where they stopped. So what we're trying to do is just not what you're used to, but how about thinking, like we've talked about many times, thinking outside your imagination, thinking beyond, people call it thinking outside the box, but thinking in ways that you haven't, when you start to have this revelation, then thinking and breaking down these borders and realizing God has a whole lot more in store for you than what you might
honey,
be currently experiencing.
The longer we've talked about this, the longer we live, the more convinced we are that what we're doing right now
That's it.
is preparation for what we're going to do next.
Because every time
And
you're
that's
at
a
whatever
tough
level,
thing sometimes for people
Yeah.
to grab a hold of because they're ready to move on to this. But really, I want to get everything I can get right now.
well, he's
So I don't have to-
he's preparing you
Yeah.
for whatever is going to come up
Here's,
next.
and if you outgrow what you're doing, you're right. He promotes you.
That's it.
And if you don't do that, then you don't have to worry about it.
Well, if
That's
you're not
why we don't
trying-
do just enough to get by.
Yeah,
We want to excel in everything we do.
that's
We want to
it.
be good at it. And see, sometimes people think success, they think money and power and all that. Success is is when you can meet somebody else's need. That's a success. When you can bless somebody. What was the quilt maker's name? The woman, Dorcas.
Yeah. Oh, yes. The quilt maker. Yes.
You know, and Tabitha, is that right?
Tabitha, sometimes called Dorcas. Yes.
Dorcas, yeah. In some people's eyes, what she did was just routine. But when she died, her reputation, went out. And she got raised from the dead. So
That's how popular she was.
that's it.
The point is to be pushing those limitations back
In
further.
every area of your life,
That's
whatever
right,
it
and
is.
further.
And your key to success is not somebody else's. What it takes to make somebody else successful may not be what you need to do. Think about it.
We need to move those borders. In Romans 12, verse 2, it says, "Be not conformed to this world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind, that ye may prove what is that good and acceptable and perfect will of God." And some of the translations say "for you." In the Message Bible translation in Romans 12, verses 1 and 2, it says, "So here's what I want you to do, God helping you. Take your everyday, ordinary life, your sleeping, eating, going to work, and walking around life, and place it before God as an offering. Embracing what God does for you is the best thing you can do for Him. Don't become so well adjusted to your culture, I could say society, your culture, that you fit into it without even thinking. Instead, fix your attention on God. You'll be changed from the inside out, readily recognize what He wants from you, and quickly respond to it. Unlike the culture around you, always dragging you down to its level of immaturity, God brings out the best of you, develops well-formed maturity in you." Hallelujah.
If you go a little deeper in that verse 2, the word says, "Be not conformed to this world." The word conformed there in the Phillips translation means pressed into a mold. Pressed into a mold. Don't let the world press you into a mold. That's why society does every day of our lives till we're old enough to recognize it, and we begin to push back. Advertisers like to tell you where to eat, what to wear, what deodorant and toothpaste to use. Television and movies tell you where the right people live, what's hip to say, and doing everything, how you do, how you treat people, how you behave in school and on the job. And even the media tells you what's right and wrong. And in my opinion, they're wrong.
Like they know. Anyway.
Yeah.
They want everyone to fit in, and go along to get
I'll
along.
tell you what, it's kind of like there's certain reviewers of movie.
Yeah.
If they don't like it, I go see it.
That's right. That's what we know.
Because I know it's a good movie. It's decent. It's clean.
That's it.
And so you just go, really. They're going to have the Golden Globes tonight.
Oh, they are.
And
Tells you how much I keep
years
up with
ago,
that.
I watched those shows. Not anymore. I get aggravated because there's a condescension.
They know so much more than you do.
They know more than everything else.
Anyway, conform means to be made into an image.
Yep.
Right? The Bible talks about being conformed to the image of Christ. We want to be more and more like Him in His image. And the Bible warns us not to be conformed the way the world is conformed, trying to conform us by letting them press us into this mold. So what kind of mold are we talking about, honey?
Well, by setting borders to the world instead of the Word.
That's right.
That's what people do, and that's wrong.
That's right.
We set the borders of what we can do based on what we've done. Let me say that again. We tend to set the borders
That's right.
based on what we've done, or we set them based on what somebody else has done,
Or told us
or
to
told
do,
us we could do, or
Right.
said that we could do. And
instead of the Word of God.
Yep. That Abraham Maslow,
Yeah.
a well-known American psychologist, said, "The story of the human race is a story of men and women selling themselves short." That's a strong quote.
That is a strong quote.
You are where you are today because you've chosen to be there. based on either good or not so good information. If it's not where you want to be in life, chances are there's something you don't know yet.
That's right.
Because if you did, you wouldn't be doing what you're doing. You wouldn't be where you're at.
With 2019 right here, it gives you a great chance to go, I think of the horse races, come out of the gate
Come on.
and be, yeah, shooting for the future of what you really want. Because your success in life, really, like say in the marketplace, can grow only to the extent that we do.
Did you see that?
I did.
Coming out the
You're
gate?
picking on me.
No, no,
Yeah,
I
man,
love it.
shooting out of the gate.
I never pick on you.
Expanding our borders can create new success in our lives. And we have 7 keys.
We do. Let me stop and say here, you need to have a serious conversation with the Lord about what He wants you to do in life, where you are, what you can do differently. You know, there are all these folks who make New Year's resolutions. I think only 4% of the people make them. And of the 4% who make them, less than 15% complete them.
We get into that.
I know. I'm ahead of myself.
Yes, you are. But that's okay if that's where you want to be.
I want to be next to you. 7 keys to obtaining success, being successful in 2019.
That's it.
Action idea number 1. If you want to be successful, you need to increase your value. Abraham Lincoln said, if I had 8 hours to chop down a tree, I'd spend 7 sharpening my axe. How do you sharpen your axe? Do we spend more on our bodies, brushing our teeth, taking a bath or shower, fixing our hair, putting on the deodorant and perfume, or other such products? Do we spend more on that than we do dressing our mind? You know, do we spend more on the outside of our head as opposed to what we're putting in the inside? I think if you figured out how much it costs for all of us to look good on the outside, we'd find that we spend much more time and money than we do on what we put on the inside.
That's it.
I can look at the books in a person's house and tell where they are and where they're going. And my friend Norman, he's a history man, so
Woo.
I know he has an
Right down my
appreciation
alley.
of history. But our personal library, you know, really reflects and reveals the depth of respect for money and success. On a monthly basis, the average person, just say they spend $300 on automobile payment. That's cheap for most people now.
Yeah.
I'm just using
Yeah.
low numbers. $130 on gas, $800 to $13 on an apartment.
1,300. 800 to 1,300. That's
That's
fine.
good.
You said 300, but
Oh,
it's good. It's
1,300.
all good. Or maybe I misunderstood you. Anyway, looking at the checkbook,
And add it up
add it up.
and see how much you spent on everything else. And then figure out how much you spent on what goes in here.
Yeah, books. You know,
See.
people say, "Oh, it's expensive to buy a book." Let me tell you, somebody put their entire life and a learning experience in a book, and you can buy it for $20. You got a bargain. I mean, really, you're talking about success ideas and things that go on. You have that experience of somebody and the time and the energy and what they put in to be able to give you a heads up and a way up. It's really, in the long run, very inexpensive to buy a book compared to what it's going to do for you in the future. And yet, look how much people spend on cable TV and rental movies and, you know, all that kind of
Redbox.
other upgrades and stuff. That's right.
All that. We need to ask ourselves each day, what can I do today
Yes.
to feed my mind more of the thoughts, words, people, pictures that are consistent with the very best that I can be?
That's it.
What can I do? Maybe it's just reading. Maybe it's a conversation. But reading makes a lot of
Maybe
difference.
it's spending some time in the 2 chairs
Yep.
talking to God, like we're doing on the Rich Thoughts for Breakfast teaching right now.
We just
or
finished.
spending 30 or 60 minutes talking, reading the Bible and meditating on the Word.
We've done 6 days
Yeah.
teaching the 2 Chairs book. And I
we
don't know how
done
much
that
longer
many?
we're going to
Wow.
do it.
I think we've been writing them along as we go.
Yep.
Yeah. 2, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th. We do
Tomorrow.
tomorrow's
It's
the
the 6th.
6th. Wow. Oh, I'm sorry. I
So-
thought you said we'd done 6 days.
No, I said, well,
Anyway, the point is,
go.
well, are we taking notes? Are we writing down thoughts? Are we trying to put some of these things into, action for us that are going to help us to
Here's the bottom line.
make 2019
If you read 60
year.
minutes a day, you can read an average size book in a week.
Wow. Think of it.
Now, if you don't read it in a week, I was telling a friend of mine yesterday, there was 11 years that I read a book a week. And then the Lord said to me, not anymore. And I'm really at a point now where I read a book 3 or 4 times. And there's a process in which I go through it. I read it for reading it, and I go back and underline. I go back again and highlight. And all these times I'm writing notes in the margins, all that kind of stuff.
You're getting the most out of it.
I am. The average American reads less than 1 book a year.
Unbelievable.
Sad.
And probably the reason it makes it even an average is the fact that you got some kids in school that have to read. That's sad. It's really sad because you miss out on so much.
1 book a week means 52 books a year.
There you go.
Earning a PhD from a major university requires a reading and synthesis into a dissertation of 40 to 50 books. So let's just say you read a book every 2 weeks. In 2 years, you've done enough to get a PhD
On any certain subject.
on any subject.
Maybe I should go to school for my history reading.
I made the statement years ago that if you spend an hour a day reading something you know about, and know nothing about, within a year you'll be an expert in your city. If you do it every day for 3 years, you'll be an expert in your state. If you do it for 5 years, you'll be an international expert just by doing an hour a day. Makes that kind of difference.
Wow.
Someone once said, if you're not continually reading and upgrading your skills, somewhere someone else is, and when you meet that person in a competitive marketplace, you'll lose.
That's also a very powerful statement.
Here's the bottom, and I mean the bottom line. Jesus was always improving himself. Always. Should we do any less?
That's it. Luke 2:52 says, and Jesus increased in wisdom and stature and in favor with God and man. And that was when he was like 12, so there's no reason to believe he ever stopped. And one more thing, Jesus began each day with proper preparation. In Mark 1:35, it says, and in the morning, rising up a great while before day, he went out and departed into a solitary place and there prayed.
Action idea number 2, stop making excuses and blaming everybody else. Once you get a hold of this truth, the world does not owe you a living. It does not. It owes you an opportunity. If you want to get paid more, make yourself more valuable. Well, my boss doesn't pay me enough. Then find another job. It's probably not your boss's fault anyhow. Even if it doesn't pay you enough, that's still no excuse. Not being paid enough is oftentimes a cop-out for not doing the job you were hired to do. Here's a fact. In fact, I remember one time, a guy told me, he said, if you paid me more, I'd do more. I said, you'll never have to worry about being paid more if you don't do more now. And that was
I remember that.
amazing.
It is amazing.
Here's the fact. You'll never get to the next level until you fix the level you're on. You never will. Here's the good news. If you can fix your finances at the current level, you'll probably be able to fix them at any level. Making one excuse will only lead to the next excuse. Quit making excuses. We can blame everybody else for our situation as long as we want to, but it won't solve the problem. And if you're good at making excuses, you'll never be good at anything else.
That's it. Action idea number 3, associate with the right people. Hang around the right kind of folks. When you're heading out to go get to the coffee machine, don't necessarily just sit down in the break room with the first person who was the quickest one in there, with you. Or like especially heading out to lunch. they're the first ones out the door because they want to get out of there. Hang around people, choose to hang around people that are going to be a bright spot in your day, a motivational person, someone who you can, iron sharpening iron and lifting each other up, because you will become the magnet that you have living in you. You'll attract people to you, and people will be attracted to you when you have like ideas and like things going on in your life, and you're wanting to get out there and do something instead of just sitting around and just getting by to get along.
And this is important because who you associate with
Yes.
will determine your destination.
Yes, it will.
And you can always learn from others.
That's right.
Jesus did.
Amen. We said that together. In Luke 2:46, it says, "And it came to pass that after 3 days they found him in the temple, sitting in the midst of the doctors, both hearing them and asking them questions." It was something that we have a glimpse of what the Lord did when he was young, and we have no reason to believe he didn't continue to start gaining and gathering, because we see that.
And he encouraged everybody around him, including his staff, to learn everything they could about their jobs.
In 2 Timothy 2:15, we read, this is in the Classic Amplified, "Study and be eager to do your utmost to present yourself to God approved, tested by trial, a workman who has no cause to be ashamed, correctly analyzing and accurately dividing, rightly handling, and skillfully teaching the word of truth." Hallelujah.
Action idea number 4.
Yes.
You got to know where you're going if you ever want to get there. If you want to be successful, you got to have goals.
That's it.
Jesus understood the necessity of goals.
Amen. In Luke 2:49, it said, "And he said unto them, I must be about my Father's business." Jesus knew what happened to people without goals too.
Yes, he did.
Because in Matthew 15:14, it says, "If the blind lead the blind, both shall fall into the ditch."
Jesus was focused on his goals.
That's right.
Luke 19:10, "For the Son of Man has come to seek and save that which was lost."
And Jesus didn't let what others thought deter him from his goals. In John 1:11 and 12, it says, "He came unto his own, and his own received him not. But as many as received him, to him gave he power to become the sons of God, even to them that believe on his name."
Jesus never let rejection keep him from fulfilling his goals.
Yay.
Matthew 10:14, "And whosoever shall not receive you, not hear your words, when you depart out of that house or city, shake off the dust of your feet." Are you convinced you need goals? If you don't have them, don't fret. Just get them. Charles Schwab, not the current Charles Schwab, but the industrious times past. He visited a millionaire once. This was back in the early part of the 20th century.
Yeah.
And Schwab told him that he could give him a system that would change his managerial leadership. The millionaire told Schwab if he did, he'd pay him $1 million. Now, bear in mind, I think this is like 1915 or something like that.
Yeah.
The next day, Schwab came back into the office, had a sheet of paper folded, and he handed it to the industrialist. And it contained 3 points. Number 1, make your list. Number 2, put your priorities in order. Number 3, do the list. The millionaire crumpled the paper and said, $1 million for that? Schwab said, "I told you I'd give you the greatest secret of management ever written."
You know, the opportunity today, and every day, really,
He paid
no
him,
matter
by the way.
no matter who is, involved in it, is that we just try to make something too difficult when really it's just a matter of doing what you're supposed to be doing and not quit doing what you're supposed to be doing. It's an everyday kind of success, just going after things, and it's never giving up, right?
That's it. Napoleon Hill, author of Think and Grow Rich, which if you've never read, it's a free download on the internet. A speechwriter for FDR. Somebody asked him once about resolutions and people giving. Listen to what Hill said. He was asked, "What is the average number of times a person tries to achieve a new goal before they give up. He'll give proof less than one. Less than one. One time. And if they don't do it, they quit. We suggest you get a spiral ring notebook or use your electronic toys. Keep your goals for the rest of your life. Most people who teach about goals tell you to think about your goals each day. I view that a little different. Don't think about your goals. Think from your goals. It's a whole different perspective. Don't think about them. Think from them.
Where are you going?
Action idea you want?
Number 5.
Yeah, learn to increase your productivity by 1,000%.
This is interesting. You're going to love it.
You're going to have to follow this. If you work on yourself continually, you could increase your productivity, performance, and output, could you, by 1/10 of 1% each day. Whereas if you tried, could you increase your productivity 1/10 of 1% each day?
That'd be 1/1000th
That's right.
each working day.
Does that seem impossible? Not really. 1/10 of 1% translates into 1/2 of 1% each week. 1/2 of 1% each week translates into 2% a month. 2% a month translate into 26% improvement in performance, activity, and output each year. Almost anybody can increase productivity, performance, and output by 26% a year. An improvement of 26% a year, compounded per years, means that you will double your productivity in performance, productivity, and output in 2.7 years. You'll double it. Over the course of 10 years, by improving yourself by 1/1000%, or 1/10 of 1%, 26% a year, you will increase your productivity, performance, and rewards by 1,004%. See, if you look at the big goal, nobody says, I can do that. But you break it down to small goals, and you can get it done. You can get it done.
Amazing.
Number 6.
Number 6, action idea number 6 is build value in what you do. You know, if you make a list of the things that you do on the job over the course of the month and not be concerned about how long the list will be, what you can do is then ask yourself, if I only, if I just need to do the most important thing that's going to make the most difference in what it is that I'm doing, what would that be? And then list identify number 1, number 2, number 3. And these 3 items will account for 90%, you're going to find, of all that you contribute to your job. And everything else could be delegated or outsourced. And Stephen Covey, really in the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, he goes, always keep the main thing the main thing. And the truth of the matter is, if you keep the main thing, the rest of it is going to fall in line. Isn't that about it?
It does. Sir, he had an opinion. I don't know. I apologize for that. Number 7, action idea 7. It's time to tan.
Oh, boy.
Time
it's not
to
summertime either.
Huh?
I said it's not summertime either.
And not in some sort of tanning booth. When I say tan, I mean take action now. And add a little TNT to it. Today, not tomorrow.
There you go.
That's how you have explosive growth.
That's it. And tan
fast. That's it. Why should you want to be successful in the everyday world? Because that's what Jesus wants for us.
Jesus knew his boss rewarded service, because in Matthew 25, verses 20 and 21, in the Classic Amplified, it said, he who had received the 5 talents came and brought him 5 more, saying, Master, you entrusted to me 5 talents. See here, I gained 5 talents more. His master said unto him, Well done, you upright, honorable, admirable, and faithful servant. You have been faithful and trustworthy over a little. I will put you in charge of much.
That's another reason to be productive.
Yes, it is.
to maximize your potential to do that. One of the other gospel says that when you do that, he'll make you the ruler over 10 cities. I already got my cities picked out.
I know. Yes, he does.
I do.
He's very ambitious and looking to be successful. Jesus recognized members of his leadership team that did good work. In Ephesians 2, verse 10, New Living Translation, it says, "For we are God's," now listen, because you're included in this, "we are God's masterpiece. He has created us anew in Christ Jesus so that we can do the good things he planned for us long ago." He has plans for you.
Jesus believed in reward motivation for others.
That's right.
Revelation 22:12, New Living Translation. "See, I'm coming back soon, and my reward is with me, to repay all according to their deeds."
Wow.
Lest we think that our rewards are eternal,
Only?
only eternal. Consider the words of Mark 10:30, Classic Amplified Bible. "Who will not receive 100 times as much now," you can underline that.
This is a
now,
question. Who will not receive?
Who will not receive 100 times as much now in this time? Houses and brothers and sisters and mothers, children and lands with persecutions, and in the age to come, eternal life.
Yeah.
So that really confirms John 10:10, New Living Translation. "I've come that you might have life, a rich and satisfying life."
Right here on planet Earth, and eternal rewards. So the point is God's desire for us to experience success is now, right now. One more thing.
Yep. Write this statement down. And I don't know if I put it in the outline or not. I don't remember. I did. The only way you lose is if you quit. The only way you lose is if you quit. What's the old saying? Quitters never win.
And winners never
And winners
quit.
never quit.
That's it.
That's it.
In Matthew 10:22, New American Standard, it says, "And you will be hated by all on account of my name. But it is the one who has endured to the end who will be saved." Jesus never gave up.
No, he didn't. Luke 18:1, New Living Translation. "One day Jesus told his disciples a story to illustrate their need for constant prayer and to show them that they must never give up. Never. If you want a teaching on never giving up, we got it. Go to haroldherring.com, search for Never Give Up. You'll find it there. Lots of teaching on it. Several different times we've taught that.
That's it.
So here's the bottom line. There's so many principles. I think there's a book published every day on success. But the bottom line is, and we could spend several days just going down and listing them and putting scripture with them. But in writing this, we tried to come up with the things that we felt like are doable now, particularly the beginning of the year. There are some people say, "Well, I didn't do my New Year's resolution." As my fine wife would say, you haven't missed your opportunity.
That's it.
You want to be successful in 2019? Then do something about it.
It's
The
your
ball
decision.
is in your court.
That's it.
Hallelujah. We mentioned it earlier. We really encourage you to join us each morning on RichThoughts for breakfast. We're teaching the book Two Chairs. I consider that a revelatory book. Tomorrow will be day 6. Stephen, do we have those podcasts up yet?
Not yet.
Okay. Well, as soon as we can. We'll put the podcast up, so if you didn't hear it, you can
Go back and hear it.
go back and listen to it.
That's it.
And it'll bless you.
It
really
will.
will. Tomorrow we're teaching on order.
Principle number 3.
Order.
Or order.
Okay,
The accurate
Hallelujah.
arrangement of things.
ma'am.
The accurate arrangement
You
of
almost
things.
laughed a while ago. I
For
saw
what?
it. I don't know what it was, but I could see the laugh coming up in you.
Oh, no, not one of those. You've already got me on
Please.
tape. Okay. So, you want to do a wrap here?
Yeah. I actually have her recorded laughing 2 different times. Stephen got it for me. And sometimes when I need a pick-me-up, I just click that thing and listen to my wife laugh. It make you feel good the way she laughs. And Felicia's got a pretty good laugh too. Anyhow, everybody in this room does. So, not picking
It's good
favorites.
to laugh.
Good to laugh. It's really good to laugh because if you don't, it'll make you ugly. I can't prove that scientifically, but just an observation of people who don't laugh. There's got to be that.
Okay.
I'm trying to prime the pump here. Anyhow, we're through. Make sure you join us tomorrow morning at 8:30. And if you've been blessed, take your mouse, move to the top where it says sow a seed. Just ask God what seed He'd have you sow. Do what He says. And by the way, let me say this. We announced this the first day we did 2 chairs. I was going to, the book's $20 hardback. We were going to make it available to anybody for $10. But as we were doing that program, the Lord said to me, give it, sow it to anybody who wants it. And we've sown quite a number of them. So if you're watching this and you'll read the book.
And it's during the time we're teaching the book.
Yep. And during the time we're teaching the book, we'll send you the book as a gift.
There you go.
We will. So we're probably got
Got a
another
few
week.
days. Yeah, I don't
Probably
know.
got another
well,
week.
we don't know.
I don't
Just
know for
depends
sure.
on what God does. So
Yeah.
you better hurry up if you're going to want it.
Hallelujah.
That's it. So, are you riding with
Till tomorrow morning at 8:30 Eastern.
Roy Rogers
God
and
bless
Dale
you.
Evans?
I'm trying to get you to laugh.
Just,
Till tomorrow morning at 8:30. God bless you. Happy trails.
and keep thinking rich thoughts. We love you and we appreciate you.